Lord reminded me of a story. Now, I know in Oz, it kind of takes a while for people to jump in because it's kind of, for whatever reason, you're just kind of, oh, okay. But there's a law of God in the Spirit that says the hungry and the thirsty get filled. Yeah. And maybe you're sitting there going, well, I can be hungry sitting in my chair. Well, if that's your idea, then you're already missing it. It's a posture of the heart. There is a thirst that literally gives utterance to a sound as the deer pants for the water. Come on, I wonder if anybody in here is panting tonight. There is literally a sound of thirst. God wants to impart a sound of thirst that literally gives utterance to a sound, panting, thirsting after God. We were ministering in, I believe it was in Alabama in the States. And somebody was leading worship. I was sitting, right here where some of you guys are sitting. And there was a young man with cerebral palsy. You know what cerebral palsy is? And he had his little crutches going. And he worship began, and people are just kind of like, yes, Lord. And he gets his crutches, and he starts doing this up to the front. And he stands about right here in the front. And he throws his crutches down, and he begins to worship God just with all of his heart. And it's just wild looking, and it's crazy. And all of a sudden, bam, he falls down. And my heart just stopped. I'm like, oh my gosh, because he has a hard enough time walking with his crutches, let alone throwing them to the side and bam, And so I start feeling sorry for him, so I get up to help him, and the Lord stops me, and he says, I want you to just watch him. And I thought, Lord, come on, I don't want to just watch the guy. This is horrible. He said, just watch. So I watch, and before anybody can come up to grab him, he pushes himself up, and he begins to just worship God, worship. Bam! And he hits the floor again. And this happens over and over and over. And finally, it just gets to the point where you're feeling sorry for the guy. And all of a sudden, I kind of my heart was so broken for this young man. And I had the privilege and the honor of meeting him afterward. His name is Alex. I had to thank him for what the Lord taught me through his life. I began to ask the Lord, why don't you just heal him, God? Like, can't you just touch him and just heal him so he didn't have to keep doing this over and over and over? And the Lord spoke to me, and the Lord said, you know what, Rick? You're the crippled one. And I said, what do you mean, Lord? And he says, Alex comes to me. As soon as worship starts, he jumps in, and he doesn't care that he is what you and I would consider crippled, because he's going to God, and he's not going, Lord, heal me, bless me. He's going, I love you, bam, and he's falling down, and he'll pick himself right back up and go, I love you, bam, and my presence is enough for him. And so many times you and I come to another meeting, and we're just like, what do you got for me tonight, Lord? I was talking with a gentleman a couple weeks ago, and he goes, oh, brother, I can't wait to get all that God has for me in worship tonight. And that's a very great, noble heart to have, but I just had to be honest with him. I said, well, that's great, man, but worship is not about you getting all that God has for you. It's about Him getting all